we'll be going into the Surah number 77. And if we could start with Aisha with the Fatiha.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we have Omar on. Let's see if I can get him. Just a sec. Yeah, I'm trying to get Omar on, but it's he's not. There we go. Okay, good. Today we're looking at how everything is, whatever happens before it comes to the present moment. So we're looking, just like now, all of the preparations that took place for this one moment to be. So that's not only all of your lives that have taken place to bring you to this moment, it's also the digital and the clouds and the whatever else in this Zoom world, which comes behind the scenes to make something happen. So that is the place that Ibn Arabi is taking us today. And the words for it are the winds sent forth. And this one in the commentaries, it can be angels, messengers, and winds. So this is what we're looking at, the winds sent forth, what the winds bring to us in the present moment. So we'll be looking at that. Now, some of it I'll read because it's not something that you listen to as a philosophical argument, but it's more like a story that's being told. So this is the chapter that when Ibn Arabi wrote that I can't divide into arguments or thesis sentences. It really does just stream through. So like the wind set forth, this will be a stream sent through kind of thing. So these are the first few verses from the Quran here. And if Omar, if you could handle that.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والمرسلات عرفا فالعاصفات عصفا والناشرات نشرا فالفارقات فرقا فالملقيات ذكرا عذرا أو نذرا إنما توعدون لواقع صدق الله العظيم. By the winds sent one after another like a mane, blowing swiftly, wind carried away, dispersed and blown about far and wide by those who winnow with a winnowing, then cast afar a remembrance, whether of clearing or altering, what you are promised will come to pass.
Thank you. And here's the poem that begins his chapter.
I tried to catch a whiff of the upwards from the gentle breeze Nasima, when the wind picked up and passed across the gardens at daybreak. Then the wind diffused. Is there in the universe of soul breaths someone who is like us? And is there seed love in these soul breaths like my love? The true tongue says, indeed, your journey along the exemplary path is an indication that fully completes me. So I bring out based on all of you, a secret of my effusive abundance and my retribution. And I conceal inside all of you a secret of my knowledge and my wisdom. Whoever has an eye will see what I'm displaying brilliantly in the open. And whoever is blind, he saw from the origin of my incalculable time. All are in a station, this based on the entity of the effusive abundance of who, and all are in existence, this based on the root of the configuration of me.
Thank you. So then after the poem, Ibn Arabi begins his journey through in this place that he's taking us. He says, learn, my dear friend, that God made from the sky to the earth ladders. So ladders, climbing ladders, to the count of the created beings. So that means each one of us has a ladder. And there is no place in the skies to step upon except it is inhabited by an angel who is celebrating the praises of God and remembering who, using whatever has been defined for him as his dhikr, the remembrance. And learn that God has in the earth angels of this kind also, never rising to the sky ever. So there are angels in the earth that never rise to the sky. And an angelic family in the skies who never descend to the earth ever. So they're in the skies always, and they never come down to us. Each has learned his salat and his celebration of God. And then he continues with these ladders a few paragraphs later. There's a divine command. So we're looking at the divine command throughout this chapter. This divine command descends through the soul-based rays in a soul-based image, she having an outward and an inward and an unseen and a seen. Then she meets the passion-based, throne-based rays, and the command receives from them. So these are, as they're coming down, they're receiving from different places. She takes on the dyed coloring in the throne of an image based on the throne. So that's where Ar-Rahman settles. So this is a merciful dyeing. And the divine command descends along the ladders to the footstool upon the hands of the angels. And he is a single entity, undivided in the world of creation and divisible and divided in the world of command. So this is, I think instead of trying to remember all the details, just hear the process, the journey that's taking place. And this is all happening in order to bring everything to this present moment and then to the next present moment. And when Ibn Arabi is illustrating this later on, you see all these circles. This is telling you a bit about how many layers are happening before something moves from there to here. And these ladders then are, the ascending ladders are a mirage. And the definition, just the straight dictionary definition, is it is a ladder or series of steps, a thing resembling a daraja, that is a ladder, upon which the souls ascend when they're taken from their bodies. So when we die, the souls will ascend on these ladders. It is said that there's nothing more beautiful than it, so that when the soul sees it, she cannot refrain from making her exit from the body. So when we die, our soul will see these ladders, and they are so beautiful that she cannot refrain from stepping onto these ladders and exiting the body. Hence, Laylat al-Miraj, the night of the ladder, in which Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is related to have ascended from Jerusalem to heaven after having been conveyed to the former from Mecca upon the beast named Al-Buraq. So that's just the word Miraj itself. So now we have to look a little bit more about how Ibn Arabi is describing this. And so I'm going to throw some math around and let's see if that helps, and some graphs. But for those of us who are very visual, we've just been seeing the imagery of the horse and of the mane in this surah of the Quran. So look at this mane. So the mane has a length, has a traveling direction. So that you can say the mane from this hox or whatever this word is, all the way up to the front. So that's the mane's direction. But the mane is also coming around this way. And so you're getting the hint that this is the shish kebab of life, that this mane circles, all of them layered one upon the other. So the mane has a direction, but it also has a horizontal direction. And so this strand of the mane never touches the next one. So keep that imagery in your mind. Then the ladder is erected from the first sky to the second sky. So the divine command descends with it, and he is the image of the first sky. So he is dyed with an image of the ladder he descended with. And with him are the angels put in charge of him from the first sky, and with them are the spirits of the zodiac and the stable celestial bodies. So you're seeing this command is being layered upon and layered upon as it descends. And when he connects to the second sky, her angels meet him and the departed spirits who are in her. So the people who have died, some of them will be here, and the angels will be there, and this whole entourage will be descending. And the angels of inward determination are the angels that are created when we say remembrance, like astaghfirullah. When we say that, an angel is created. So those angels that we have just created are up there in that sky, and they will form this entourage as they come down. He bestows on them what is in his hands for them. He descends to the third sky, and it is flush against the image of the second. So now we have the imagery of the sky and a second sky, and all of them are flush against each other. So just like the mane, they have strands that are going this way. They also have a direction. So he is dyed by the image of the ladder, which he descends along. And the state is the state which is like what we cited until he ends at the seventh sky. So all of this is happening in seven skies. So if you see in the middle there, there's the red circle, which will be our world. What we see here is stretched out. And that's because in our world, if I'm on this disk, on this circle, this part of the mane, then I have a space from 0 to 1 meter to Mars, 10 to the 9 meters away, to the end of the observable universe, 10 to the 26 meters away. So that's in one circle or one braid of the mane. And then, but that's only looking this way. If we look at it the other way, the way the mane is put together one after the other, and we measure what's the distance between this red observable universe and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, that's a question of centimeters, very small. They're stacked on each other, these circles. So to go from here to the second sky, I don't go all the way to the end of the universe and come back again to the second sky. In fact, I can't get there from here. But there is a way, of course, there is a going from here to there, which goes from this circle and then jumps and fluxes into the next circle. And so that's how you can have this described that each of the letters that are coming from the throat are linked to planets. So those letters are not coming through Venus, but they're coming through the disk in which Venus is in. And so this is happening the way the throat. So the sounds that come here have gone through a process of creation throughout the mouth. And so this is back to the winds sent forth. So these are messengers and sounds and angels, and all of them are being dyed in and getting the color of different spheres, and which we are now thinking of as circles instead of spheres, until they emerge from the mouth. So the command is in the place of the imperative to be, something divisible, and in the place of the creation, a single entity, like the sound emerging from the chest to exit from the mouth. It's one entity. So that's the ah. So if the mouth makes no changes in this breath, it comes out with an ah sound. It has no phoneme quality. And then the exit positions, the dentals, the palates, the lips, all of them, divide them into numerous letters, phonemes, exceeding 70. So Arabic has 28 phonemes, they say, or something like that. Ibn Arabi is saying there's 70 phonemes that are created by the mouth. And each is the entity of this single sound. And I have a feeling this is one of those many, many cases where he has an insight which no one else is picking up on. Because we would say that the phonemes of Arabic are 28 or this or that or some number, and he's saying there's 70. So these ladders, of course, they look a lot like this night sky here. So now he's going to describe the descending of on these ladders. So then if the command descends to the skies on his ladder together with the angels of the station in which he alights, so this is the entourage that's gathering, and together with the power of the lights of the celestial bodies, so each of these disks which have Mars or Venus or Saturn in them are also there in the main. He does not separate himself from them. The angels of the Sidra, the Sidra tree, meet the command, and she receives from him some of the angels who descended with him. And these angels returned with whatever the angels of the Sidra tree provided them. So the angels of the Christ tree meet the command, and she receives from them some of the angels who descended with them. And these angels return with whatever the angels of the Sidra tree provided them. That is the ascending matters from the earth. So there are descending ladders, and these ladders also have ascenders. So there are descenders coming down, ascenders coming up. They're all meeting. They're all going through each of these circles, like the mane of the horse's mane, and they are gathering together all of these entities and all of these qualities as they go, as they descend. So this is understood. Now, this is one place where Ibn Arabi he's gone so much farther than everyone else. There is, though, a tradition, I think later than him, of the Taha circle, which is it's a way of describing by a diagram that you can ascend and descend and meet at the same place. So in one way to look at this, Allah descends to the sky of this world in the third part of the night. And we don't ascend to meet him, we have to descend. So we have to humble and lower. So our descent, Allah descends and we descend, and then we meet in the middle. So this is how we're knowing that this is a different dimensional existence. So for Ibn Arabi, the way he's describing things, we can, in a sense, map out what he's describing with 4 spatial dimensions. And then we need 2 temporal dimensions. We need 2 times. So not a timeline. A timeline is 1 dimension. A time plane is 2-dimensional. So we need 2 times, a line and then a plane. So this plane is a 2-dimensional time. So now we have to be thinking, well, what does 2-dimensional time feel like? What does it feel like to enter into time where it's not just one after another, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's 1 and then up some, 2 down some, perhaps 3 up. So what is a second or a piece of time which has a height, which is high above us or below us? And so it's just, it's something, but we have to, in order to map out what he's describing, we need 4 spatial dimensions and 2 times. So concerning everything emerging visibly in everything in the earth, so that's everything, it is upon the conclusion of 3 years of the command's descent from the sky during every quantum period. So in every second, so every quantum period is our timeline. So you go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But everything we meet, so at number 3 or number 4, has actually had 3 years of a vertical time to prepare. So it's been preparing for 3 years, and then it meets us in the 3rd second and in the 4th second. So everything we meet every second has been prepared for 3 years. in the vertical time. It is from here where most of the people of Kush speak of the unseen who appears, because they are seeing her before her descent, and they are reporting about her according to what is of her during the future years. So the people of Kush, they have this unveiling where they see something that is being prepared. And so it's being prepared over 3 years, and it will come into the now, and we'll see it right now. They can say this is going to happen because they have seen that these 3 years of process of development taking place. And so for them, they have the feeling of deja vu. They've already seen it. So they've seen what came through over 3 years, which happened in the next second, is going to happen in the next second. And this, of course, brings us to then Ibn Arabi's explaining us many times that each day who is upon a radiant brilliance, Kula Yoma Huwa Fishan. So we have, that's one time. And Ibn Arabi says if it's unimaginable, you cannot know how short this period of time is. But he said, if you want to have a way of imagining it, take it as each breath. So a human measure of this tiny, tiny time is one that's like one breath. So a second, or this kind of breath. And the other time was the 3 years development. So in the middle, we have a graph that gives us the 3 years development, and it also gives us the smallest time period there is, the quantum time period. And if you think of 3 years, Ibn Arabi is telling us that the year is 360. And in fact, Muhammad Haj Yusuf has explained that Ibn Arabi uses the 2 words in the Quran for year to explain that there is a year which is 360, and then there's a year which is longer than that. And this is because the days are getting slightly longer every day. And so there was the 360 years was 35 million years ago, something like that. And then the 360 days goes to 365 after all these tiny, tiny increases of the day. So if you think of 3 years then as 3 cycles, and 3 cycles then 360 degrees as 3 circles. So the first year is a circle 1, second is circle 2, third is circle 3. And if you look at the kun, fayakun, be and it is, the kun, first circle, kaf, second circle, wav, third circle, nun. So by 3 revolutions, you get be and it is. 3 revolutions of be, and then it comes into the now. And how short that period is, he just breezes over it because he says you will never understand how short the shortest period is. And so we could use the imagery of candles. So if I'm going to light up 24 candles in one day, because Ibn Arabi says each shan, each radiating brilliance is 1 on 1 on 1. So Allah looks at you and makes you be, then looks at the next person, makes that person be, and the next. So in any moment, there's only one being lit up. So that's why you are the center of the universe. At that moment, there's no one else but you being looked at by the divine and created. So if I have 24 candles and I'm going to light them up in one day of 24 hours, then the rate of lighting up the candles will be each hour. So hour 1, I light up 1 candle. Hour 2, I light up the next candle. And by the 24 hours, by the day, all the candles are lit up. So if each particle in the solar system is being lit up 1 by 1 by 1, the question then becomes, if that's happening in one day, what is the interval of time? And the interval is the day divided by the number of particles that there are. And so the day is 86,000 seconds. The number of particles, pick a number, 10 to the 47, 10 to the 55, who knows? And then divide those and you get a certain number of seconds, this time, quantum time period. And the Planck second is the one that is conceived now as being the smallest time period there is, 10 to the negative 43 seconds. And this is absolutely cannot be understood, tiniest thing. So that's why Ibn Arabi says, just think about your breath. Let's not try to go crazy on this one. So this Taha circle, that the ascending and the descenders meet the ascenders and the descenders in the center. So in our usual world, we think that if someone is descending to the center and we have to ascend to the center, and then we can meet. But in this world, you can ascend or descend and meet the ones ascending or descending. So this is the Taha circle. Okay, let me know.
Ya Rasulallah, Ya Habiballah, Ya Shafi'allah, Ya Nabi Allah, Sallallahu ala Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Keep us in the tariqat of Muhammad, embrace us in the mystic path of Ali, Yasin wa Taha, Ahmed Mustafa, Hatamul Nabiyyin, Hatamul Mursalin, Sallallahu ala Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Sallallahu ala Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sirazul Sharia, Sheikhul Tariqah, Nurul Haqiqah, Ariful Marifah, Sallallahu ala Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Keep us in the tariqah of Muhammad, embrace us in the mystic path of Ali.
Thank you. Yeah, so the seal of all of the ones sent. So the seal of all the ones sent is all the ones sent are these circles, like the main, and the seal puts the seal on top of them and includes them all, embraces them all. And so this isn't the seal like, okay, that's the end and all these guys are not, there anymore. No, all of those circles are there, and this one seals them, and that is connects them all, embraces them all. And so like the mane of the horse, each of the separate strands remains an important separate strand. And then the seal says, but they are all in the mane. They're all going from the back to the front to the nose of the horse, or whatever, however it goes. So that's the imagery of the mane, and that's the imagery then of the seal. So this things are coming down, things are going up, things are meeting in different places. And so one of these very beautiful ones that we've had the experience of, the spirits of prophets and people whose spirits were seized by death meet the divine command. So there are spirits of prophets and then the spirits of people who are seized by death, and they are meeting this descending command. And there are things that are coming up as well, as do the angels who were created by the Hima of the Arafin in the earth. So this divine command is being met by spirits of prophets, by the spirits of those who have been seized by death, and by the angels who were created by our dhikr in the earth that rises up, and and creates these angels, and then they are there meeting with this divine command. So this soul who's just died is with spirits of prophets, is with the, meets the divine command, and meets these angels who were created by the Hima of us here on the earth. And this Hima, especially the dhikr, the remembrance of La ilaha illallah, no God but God. So this dhikr, La ilaha illallah, creates angels, and then those angels are there meeting this divine command with spirits of prophets and the souls who are being prayed for. And so this is where this is why we pray for souls. It's because when they are in this place, then these angels are there to assist, and they are meeting the divine command. And so, and then this is also where the rivers are coming place. That's why we, of course, this is the bridge illustration I love so much, but there's also the river. This is where the Nile and the Euphrates and all the rivers, they are start here, and then they have a descent into this earth, but they start as rivers in this over there. And they, all of them are taking 3 years to create the moment when you see them in the earth. And I can read that part for you. And over there is found the Nile and the Euphrates. And the divine command casts to them whatever God placed there, the sacred trust which is necessary for the two to have. Then this blessed abundance descends in the two rivers to the earth. So they become two of the rivers of the earth. And I just have to throw this out. You know, I was once at a river, and that river had a command cast to it. And I heard that command, or I received that command by that river. And so this is because the river, the command doesn't originate in the river so much. It originates over there, in that over there river, which then descends and is cast to the river that we are next to. And then we, the sacred trust of the river, is to convey what needs to be conveyed to the one who's listening. And this is also where incoming thoughts are coming. So incoming thoughts are coming to us every moment. And the calculation is that they're coming, there's 70,000 coming in 86,400 seconds in a day. And so that if they were all averaged, it would be, I think it's theta brainwaves, the frequency of the brainwaves of theta. But it's also probably not average. So therefore, sometimes it comes to you quickly. Sometimes they come to you slowly. So these are the 70,000 angels who arrive and enter the house each day and never return ever. They are the angels God created from the drops of water from the river of life. Indeed, Gabriel, peace be upon him, immerses into the river of life each day, submerging and then coming out, and he shivers his wings just as the bird does. Dripping from him during that shivering are 70,000 drops, God creating from each drop an angel who becomes an incoming thought to each human being. They are the ones who enter the populous house each day. Messenger of God, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said in an authentic hadith about the populated house, entering into the house each day are 70,000 angels, not returning ever. So consider how vast is the kingdom of God. And elsewhere, he'll say that each person is getting these 70,000 angels each day. And that would make you say, even more consider the vastness of this, that each being, human being in this earth is getting those 70,000. Maybe just jump through here. This is Walden Pond, and Thoreau was actually a great botanist, I hear. And he said that the way he would find these rare flowers or plants, he would put it in his mind first, and then he would go out and find it. And when I was here with my son, when he was about 4 or 5 years old, he would always find the arrowheads, and he would find tool implements made out of rock. And I would ask him how he always finds them so quickly, so easily. And he says, well, you see it first, and then you find it. So, And this is how Thoreau said, you see it first and then you find it. So if you're looking for your keys, you put an image of the keys in your mind, and then everything you look at, you compare with the image you have in your mind. Is that what I'm finding? And that's, in a way, how you find things. And this is how you find things, that you have an image inside you, and you're prepared for it, you're ready for it, and you're waiting for the one that will match it to come into existence. And so you're not saying, like tabula rasa, you're not saying, oh, what's going to happen to me? This is a tabula that you have actually etched into, you have scratched into, and you're waiting to see which image is coming that's going to match it. And that's how things are seen and found. So the spirit basis is inundated with the object sought. So you're seeking it, and then you're inundated by that, which is the Hima, the inner determination at the moment of their gazing. Then they predict the property of happenstance events in the future. So they first see something and they wait for what is going to match it. And then when they see a match, they say, this is going to happen tomorrow. And it happens tomorrow. And so as for these arifun, the people who can see this way, they recognize that God has a special face in every side of being. So they never look at anything in the place of causality. No, they look at it from the facet which they have from the true. Therefore, they look with a true eye, so they never err or step off the path. So this is the one that they see the true in everything. And as Ibn Arabi says, what might be on this side could be ugly, beautiful, lawful, or unlawful. But those who see these things, they don't say, oh, that's ugly or that's unlawful. They say, oh, that's a face of the true. And when they say that, everyone else starts saying, what a horrible person you must be. You are, we must censor you. We must blame you for having these horrible thoughts and ideas. And hence the mystic guide, Bhakti. Or is that?
The mystic guide opens the way. Brilliant space surrounds the soul. The rose of light, its petals divine names, blossoms in the grateful heart. The mystic guide pours the true wine. His tears of love flood the world. His blessed face, a golden Quran, shining as the rising sun. In your painful mystery of love, love find the cure for pain. Wandering through the desert of longing, crying aloud, Allah, Allah. Drunk with light, censored by men, eyes aflame with desperate love. Your friends cry out like Moses on the mountain, Lord, reveal yourself to me. Gods are weeping with love's agony as I dance on the mystic way, possessing nothing, not even myself, crying out, poverty is my pride, my direction of fear is your face, my victory banner reads, all is he. Paradise is not my concern, hell is not my anxiety. You are what they praise at the holy Kaaba. You are what they seek at temples and shrines. I am free from every religion, crying aloud, Allah, Allah. Strive to become the true human being, one who knows love, one who knows pain. Be full, be humble, be utterly silent, Be the bowl of wine passed from hand to hand. Be the bowl of wine passed from hand to hand.
Thank you, Nora. And go ahead and have a glass of water. Wonderful. So this person will see the triangles everywhere. So all they see are triangles, and they see triangles, big ones, small ones, little ones. And that's the ones who see the aleph in every letter, and they see the 1 in every number. So someone say, I don't like the number 539. It's an ugly number, and even the Sharia says it's an unlawful number. And you'll say, well, I just see the 1 in that number. And so that changes everything. And that's why the two cannot really agree on that, because the one is looking at the 1 and the other is looking at the 539 or whatever that number was. The key word here is hadid, and this is being placed in the ground. And Ibn Arabi will talk about this when these great beings are, when they die and they rise to these skies and on this journey, there's a tremendous thing that happens. And so let me go ahead and read that. Thereupon the Arif, the divine command, clothes him with vestments of beautiful courtesy. So we'll see that. And then the angels are watching this beautiful being coming in. And this beautiful being was placed in the ground and was the lowest of the low. And so the key word here is this khadid, to be placed in the ground. And when the Prophet ﷺ, when he was given something to eat and he didn't have the usual leather platform to put it on, he said, place it on the ground, meaning the earth. And he said, for I am only a slave. I eat as the slave eats. And then being placed in the lowest of the low, that these great saints and great peers, they were brought to the lowest of the low compared to the angels, who are so pure and mighty and light and all of that. And so this being placed in the earth and to be light makes the angels amazed when they see this being coming to them. And they are stunned by what they see, because this person ate like a slave and was at the lowest of the low. And yet in this place, in this ascent, this person is of the most beautiful raiments and adornments, and the divine command clothes him with vestments of beautiful courtesy. And the divine presence is in his reception of the vestments, as is also light and splendor. All that which the divine command will use to ascend him along his ladder. The angels of the upper skies are in wonder, amazed. God stuns his angels with him. And of course, we often think about one person for this one, and Baki will sing us.
Hak la ilaha illallah, Allah, 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 none can equal him, prophet by his side, light of the whole earth, exalted by Allah. So the maze and show the may by his sanctity. Side Sultan Abdul Qadir Gilani. Kudus the wise, axis of the sun, the throne and the pain, sun within his heart. So the maze and show the maze by his purity. Side Sultan Abdul Qadir Gilani. Hak la ilaha illallah, Allah, 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 Sūrah Rahman, the Ghazal of grace, Dhikrullah wisdom, one essential faith. So the maze and shows the maid by his mastery. Side Sultan Abdul Qadir Gilani. He is sitting me me his beloved, I become a Jew, bewildered with great love. So the maze and show the maze his mystery. Side Sultan Abdul Qadir Ilani. Akla ilaha illallah, Allah, 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 illallah, illallah.
Thank you. Yeah, and for this one, Ibn Arabi often will cite the story when Allah and the angels are looking at the people on Arafat during the pilgrimage. And so they're looking at all these people who are in the poorest of clothing, and their hair is a mess. They have no perfume on. They are throwing stones at things like madmen, and they're throwing the stones, and they're dusty and they look like death. And so Allah will ask the angels and said, "Who are these?" And the angel says, "You know better, but they are your slaves, your creatures." And he says, "What brought them here?" He says, "You told them to come and they came." And he says, "Do they see me the way you see me?" And they say, "No, they don't see you." And he said, "And yet they still came." And so the whole story is Ibn Arabi showing us how the ones who are in this lowest of the low and the most dusty form, that when these are raised up into the upper skies and the upper angelic realm, the angels are stunned and amazed at the beauty of these people. Okay.
So lots of questions
Oh, boy.
and statements.
Good.
Each has learned his salat and his celebration from the slides. Does this imply each individual has a salat tailored to them?
Yeah, so this is the salat that everything in the universe is praying. And so the salat here is the blessing. It's a blessing that's given, and it's a blessing that is giving. And so there is a salat for everything. So all of our bodily parts have their own salat. Every one of our molecules have their own salat. Every tree and every great blade of grass, all of these have their salat, and that is their method of praising and blessing.
Okay. But does each individual, I think the question is more, does each individual have a particular salat?
Yeah, so the way the salat is, the salat has different forms, and that each of the prophets sent by the Nur Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will have given a form of what, for me as a human being, what I should do as my salat. So each of the communities of the mother community will have their salat. And so with the seal of prophecy, we now learn that all of the salats are valid and true. And we also know what the embodiment of the Nur Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the person of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he prayed. And so, and then he said, "Pray as you see me pray. Do the salat as you see me do the salat." And then that's passed on by people saying, "When we saw him, this is how he prayed."
Regarding salat, I see it as at a level it is the one with the community, and at another, I do believe it varies with our progression until we reach the convergent point of the only reality.
Right. Yeah, so for salat, there are different levels. So there are those, the Quran tells us, there are those that are in their salat forever. They're always in their salat. And so whatever that is where that is a salat. Then there are the physical practices that we are taught, and that's another level. The one of being ever in the salat, Ibn Arabi tells us that's because they're ever in conversation with haqq, with reality, with the true, because the salat is a conversation. It's a dialogue between two parties. And so we say one thing, and then Allah says, "My slave has said this," And then he says something back to us. So we go back and forth in this intimate conversation. So that is the salat that everyone has, that every part of my body has that conversation with the truth. And then there is those who are ever in their salat. And so they are the ones who, as they're walking around and doing whatever they're doing, the Quran is saying they are in salat at that moment. And so, and then there's, for people like me, there's a practical, this is how you do the salat. This is where you put your hands. This is where you put your knees and so on.
From the slide, please can you explain, quote, whoever is blind, he is so from the origin of my incalculable time, end of quote.
Yeah.
This seems to suggest that if you do not have the eyes to see right from the beginning, you never will see, but remain blind to the truth. If this is the case, what is the point for those blind ones to even try?
Well, so this connects to a few things in Ibn Arabi's, what he's told us before. One of the blindness is those who are so close to the divine that they are confounded and they are perplexed and they can't see anything else. So these are the ones who are completely stunned by divine presence. And so their blindness has been that way from the very beginning. The moment Allah showed that presence, they became blind and confounded. The other ones who are blind are the ones that Allah has kept for himself. So these are the ones that he makes sure that their eyes has gauze over them, that their ears are sealed up, and he makes sure that they cannot receive information, even from his beloved prophet. And so they don't receive any information from the outside because they are meant to be alone with the divine, alone with the alone. And so they're the ones who, in the first verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, they're the ones who also will experience great torment. So they experience great torment, not because they're bad, but because they cannot hear from the prophets that were sent what they should be doing. And so they are kept alone and are kept isolated for Allah alone. So these are the ones who are the most beloved and the most special. And so they are blinded to what's happening around them, so they only see Allah. And like that, the Ilahi with the mystic guide, since they look at everything and they say, oh, there's Allah, there's Allah, there's Allah, even when they're looking at things which are ugly or unlawful in Sharia, people will say, what's wrong with these people? What's wrong with them? And so they're censored by men.
Please, can you explain in the slides, who are the, quote, angels in the earth never rising to die ever, end of quote. Are these common but evolved people? Are these angels people who sincerely purified their heart and serve others?
No, so these will be the angels. And so they are light beings, and they're light beings which stay in the earth, and then there are light beings which stay in the skies, and then there are light beings which go back and forth. So the ones that stay only here, they are the light beings, made out of light. So they're not like you or me. So these are light being angels. And the ones that we create with our dhikr, with the remembrance, that creates light being angels, which are in these skies. And so when the soul of the departed rises, they meet these angels, which were created by those who were praying for them in this world.
Can you share more on Hima and spiritual, which you spoke of in the section about imagining first and then finding?
Yeah, so,
it should have read him and spiritual strength or power.
Yeah, so the finding first, so the Hima is what's internally determined, or internal energy or enthusiasm. So inner energy, and I haven't yet come across a final way I'm going to translate, but it's an inner determination. It's an inner energy. It's enthusiasm. So it's a God within, enthusiasm from the Greek. So that process it creates things. It creates angels, and it creates things that happen. So it influences, it goes up, it rises up to the 3-year process of things coming down. So my Hima inside can rise up and meet the things that are coming down over that 3-year cyclic period. And then when they come down, I will recognize that my Hima, my inner determination, is with them. And so I can see that it matches what I was creating inside. So that's how you can create something inside, you create the image, and then it rises and meets what's coming down and then comes out in this way. And so this is why thoughts and images are very, very important and potentially dangerous, because they're so very powerful. And this is one reason why this last community, that is the last mother community of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is told not to put images out there, is to put them in here. Because when they're in here, they can rise up and then they can be modulated as they come down. And so that's a very powerful way of seeing how the world is being created moment by moment.
You said that everyone has a letter of the alphabet. What's the importance and the meaning of having a letter, and why can we only know our letter when we die? Are letters corresponding to a type of souls?
So the aleph, the A is in every word, and then those words make up sentences, and those sentences are like a skeleton which has meaning when they move, when they are given vowels. And so when they are given vowels and they move, they create meaning. So the body is a form, just like a letter form. The breath gives it its vowel to make it move, because in Arabic, the vowel and harakat, movement, are the same word. So the breath makes it move. And then what I do with the skeleton and the breath is meaning, creates the meaning. So that's this is the metaphor that Ibn Arabi takes us through grammar to what happens with us. So we want to have our shape be a good shape, which is a letter shape. We want our breath to be recognized as the divine breath, so that it moves these words, these letters, in a beautiful way. And then the first word, and then the next moment there's another word and another word that creates a sentence. And then the sentence is creating the bridge, which is the book of my life. And so the book of my life is the meaning of it. And the meaning is seen when I see the bridge, or if I die before I die. So I have to be able to go from letter, vowel, word, sentence, book to meaning.
Salam, thank you for the wonderful session. Does it mean we see with our eyes and hearts what we imagine or want to see? What is the relationship between imagination and seeing?
Yeah, so this is, as when my son was a little kid and we were doing that, I was thinking about this a lot, because, and I began to realize I only see what has already been put here behind me to see. And I've talked to Richard Galt about this a few times. What you see only what you have after image of. So if I don't have in my mind what a thumb drive looks like, or what a thumb drive is, I won't ever find one. So to find something, you have to have it here first. And the same way in our dreams, we see things and we have these experiences, but if we're going to say, sometimes we can't say what exactly we saw. Was it a car? Was it a cart? Was it a this? Was it a horse? Was it a something else? We can't always tell what we've seen because we don't have that image here in this world. And so part of spiritual growth is to increase the vocabulary of things that you can see, smell, and hear. And you increase that, so then you see more things. So if I first go out there, and like a botanist like Thoreau, if I'm a botanist like Thoreau, I go out and every plant is alive and I see every plant and I say, that's this plant and that's that plant. But someone like me right now, if I go out there, I'll say, oh, there's a tree. I don't know what kind of tree it is. So to be able to see, to say this is this kind of tree, this kind of tree, this kind of tree, requires me to already have the image inside of me. So what we're trying to do in the spiritual path is to put the images inside ourselves so that we can then see them outside. And remember, we are in paradise, we just don't see it. So we need to be able to put the image of paradise inside of us and then match it to what we're actually experiencing. And we say, oh, Now we're in paradise. And it's just like if someone dangles, in 5 years, there'll be some kind of key that will be not like a key that we've seen before. So if someone dangles that key from 5 years in the future before me, I'll just say, oh, there, I see your hand and there's something else. But if 5 years from now, I learned that, oh, this is a very special kind of SD drive or something like that, then I will be able to identify. So what we're doing on the spiritual path is to be able to work with what's inside of us so that we'll be able to match what we're seeing.
And a related question, are we really the ones imagining, or are we receiving the inspiration and then seeing?
So that's when Ibn Arabi talks about seeing with the true eye and speaking with the true tongue. So that when we see with God's eyes, we see differently than we see from our own eyes. And so being able to see with God's eyes is then to begin to enlarge the vocabulary of of the world that we see. Then as we're enlarging it, we're realizing that enlarging it means what Ibn Arabi talks about as knowledge. And that's the one thing you want to increase. More knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge means you want to enlarge your vocabulary of what you can see, smell, hear, and sense. And as I increase that, as I hear more and I see more and I smell more, then I'm able to see the single entity tajalli that comes at me. I will know more and more and more and more about it. And then I also know my incapacity to know anything more, that of course I will never be able to know all of it, but I can then know more and more and more of it.
Salam, Eric. Thank you very much for everything you're sharing. Would it be possible for you to let us know which chapter of the Futuhat you'll be discussing at the beginning of the session so that we can review the Arabic text right after the session, which would be a great help. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I'll do that one. This one was, okay, I'll write to Aisha about that. So far I'm kind of going through the 114 Surah and maybe moving a little bit, not just each one by one, but we'll keep going there. And then Ibn Arabi, of course, has these 114 chapters. And so that's the ones we're working through.
Thanks for the paradise you and Ibn Arabi make us see. Can we understand this in retrospect, in hindsight? So I make sense of the past and realize what I saw 3 years ago, although I didn't recognize it then.
Yeah, so this is the beauty, and this is back to my vinyl record analogy or imagery. So each sound that comes from this record player, each note has actually had 3 years to descend and to develop, and then it becomes that note. And the next note has 3 years to descend vertically to make that next note. And so there's no way that I can experience all of that at once. And so I can't experience all at once and say, oh, that's a nice song. But there's also going into detail. And so there is the jama, which is the collection, the whole, so I can hear the entire song and I can love the entire song. And then there is the fasl, which is to separate. And the tafsil or fasl separates things. And when I separate things, I go back to them and see them again. And as I go back, I begin to see where they came from and where they were brought from. And I begin to see this vertical 3-year dimension as well. So the way that I understand this plane of time is that not only am I moving this way, but there's a vertical dimension as well. And so that's how I can go back to something and then see its verticality. And with the vertical, then I can then relive it, but relive it from a different perspective, of a higher plane, or from the overseeing self. And so this is going over the past and then finding out more what's in there. Because as Ibn Arabi tells us, every single moment there is the single entity is being manifest. And all of it's there at every moment. But of course, I'm only picking up the tiniest fraction of that. So that's why I go back to things to find out what I might have missed and then pick up more things that way. And that's also the way we did with last week. The circle of the beads in the tasbih, in the rosary, are coming to us. And the reason that they're coming to us this way is that each one of them allows us, as the way we're built. The way we're built, we can't take everything at once. And to separate things, I'll never get to the end of that either. So therefore, I have to have it once, have it again, and again, and again. And each of those is technically different, but they're all creating me this wave of knowledge that's coming at me. And so it's the wave of knowledge can't be divided. And just the way the wave in the physical world cannot be stopped or cannot be cut up. But you can go back to the wave each time, and then go back to the wave and then find its vertical dimension as well. And that's how learning from things. And so that's also what we then are doing. As we're doing this, we're creating in us images and like the film of a camera, we're creating these images, which then in the future, we might find are matched. And when they're matched in the future, we have the feeling of deja vu. I've seen this already, because you have seen it inside, and then it comes out from the outside in.
Did I understand correctly your explanation of the verse, they are blind, deaf, speechless? Did you say there are three types? One, the ignorant people who don't hear or see wise words at all. Two, the righteous ones who only hear, see the prophets and friends. And three, God's brides with blinders who only hear, see God.
Yeah. So in a sense, yeah. So those are all three levels of this verse. And so part of that they're not seeing what is in front of them. So they're not interpreting reality. So they don't see what's in front of them. They don't hear what's being told them, the counsel that they've been given. And so they're not hearing the prophets, and they're not hearing the wise ways of living a life. And so that does bring great pain, and that does bring torment. And then there are ones who hear the counsel that's coming to them, which is true. And then there are the ones who hear at every counsel that's coming them to is true. And Ibn Arabi says that those are the ones who hear every word as coming from Allah. And so every word that's coming from God is Quran, and that's what they hear each time. And so that's how every one of us, we're not speaking from ourselves, we're speaking from God, based on God. And that's Ibn Arabi's he takes us all the way to the end and says, look, their speaker is only one speaker in this world. You are a listener, and there is a speaker. The speaker is divine, and you are the listener. Okay.
Following on your reply about angels of earth being light beings, where are these beings, and what is their role exactly in our lives?
Yeah, so this is one that you have to gather from Ibn Arabi throughout the Futuhat, and so I'll keep my eye open for that and see if we can say more about that. These are the people. Some people see them. It seems that animals see them very easily, and so often we can find out where these angels are and what they're doing based on watching animal life, and then probably even plant life and maybe mineral life. But you will see, you'll see why this tree is growing a certain way. There could be an angelic explanation why this person is acting a certain way, and you'll know that animals around you are acting a certain way. And that's why we have throughout history, all societies, all cultures have this auguring. You divine what's going to happen based on how animals are acting and reacting. And so that's one way that we see what we can't see, is by watching those who see. And I've suggested that Ibn Arabi is saying that animals have 4 dimensions of perception, while we have 3, and then the jinn have 2.
Are dreams grace of imagery in our formation?
Yes, so that's why dreams are so wonderful and welcomed, and it's such a grace, because what dreams do is they give you a tajalli in a form which you can understand. They give you a radiant brilliance in a form which can be understood. And in other words, if I say, if I say, I'm going to show you something, and, do you see the full value of that and everything? Well, you don't see meaning in this world, but you do see meaning in dreams. So when you have a dream, you see the object and the meaning at the same time. And so that's why dreams are so important. And you want to be able to enter into dream state. So that's the grace of being able to see meaning everywhere you look. And so the more I practice dreaming, then the more with grace, then I will be able to have meaning visible to me and see meaning. And so then you're putting into the dream, then will give you an image, which you will then take out, and either you will look backwards and say, oh, this is the image that came 10 years ago, and I didn't know it then, but it means this. Or it will be something that will, in 10 years in the future, and then when you get there, you'll say, oh, I've seen that dream, and it means this. So we're either going back and finding meaning where we didn't find meaning the first time, or we're finding meaning immediately when we see it for the second time.
You cannot remember exactly what you said about deja vu, but I was wondering if deja vu is also a previous dream which manifested into reality, but which we did not make sense of at the time of the dream. And Baki adds, and babies.
Yeah. Okay, I think I can figure out what that. Yeah, babies see this all the time. And that's so animals and babies. And so this is why babies are, when they first come out, the grace that's given to them is that they get 23 and a half hours of sleep, which is they go back to where they came from for 23 and a half hours. And then, as Baki will say, they grow up and they quit sleeping so much. And it's tough. But that's the blessing, is that instead of throwing them into this world, they get to stay many hours of the day in the other world. And so that is absolutely, that's the beauty of the grace. And so deja vu is like a dream. So you have a dream, and then later you see it come out. And what Ibn Arabi says, well, one of the prophets, he's very gently saying that this prophet in a way made a mistake by saying, what happened, it happened just like my dream had said it would happen. And Ibn Arabi says, no, the dream is first, and then it goes into that world, and then it comes back into this world. So you dream, and then that dream rises up, and it meets the divine command, and then it comes back down and manifests in this world. So it's a three process, which is also back to the 3 years. It's a cycle of three that is created here in the dream world, in my dream world, and then it rises up. It meets the divine command coming down, and then manifests in this world. So it's a triangular three cycle.
So lots of appreciation and thank yous. And thank you.
Okay, good.
Wonderful questions, wonderful answers.
Thank you.
Just a quick question.
Yes. Khadija Farouz. Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Yeah, just 3 little things. Thank you before I start. Thank you so much. You said don't put the images there, put them here. You mean don't talk about the images?
Oh,
Keep them in your heart? Is that what you meant?
Well, there is something about having them inside where they are protected, because it is true that we don't. So first of all, we don't want to make it's very powerful. What's inside is very, very powerful, and if we manifest it, or if I draw a picture of what I saw, and someone else sees it, oh, that's just that, in the same way that you don't announce who your beloved is, because if you say my beloved is this one, there'll always be someone who says, oh, that's just a regular human being. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, I'm a human being like other human beings. So you can't even say to some people that your beloved is Muhammad ﷺ, because they'll say, oh, he was just this, just that, and that will pain you. So you keep that one inside. And so the truth of many things are kept inside. And then that's also then why it is such a grace to have people who are with you, and you can show your image to them, and they will receive that image the way you receive it. And that's a great, great beauty.
Okay. You also said increase the vocabulary of things you see, smell, and hear. How? Is there a, like, how?
Yeah, so this is, I mean, this is Ibn Arabi kind of alludes to this every now and then. The Sufi practice where you'll go out and you will find every single thing that you should be thankful for. And so everything that you should be thankful for. So it won't be just be, oh, someone was nice to me or gave me a gift. It will be, I'm thankful that the wind just blew that branch because that branch then pollinated something else. And so you'll just go step by step and you'll find one after the other, something to be thankful for. And so that is a way of training ourselves to increase the amount of thankfulness by increasing the amount of things we see that are actually coming from God for us and for a good reason. And so that's a way of looking. Yeah. Third.
Thank you.
Well,
One
so now
more.
we have
No,
a,
she had a third?
Just last one. Yeah, enter the dream state so you can have meaning visible to you. How do we enter the dream state?
Well, so in a dream that just, when the dreams just happen, and that's why they're by grace, they can't be done. And so even people have waking dreams, there's a great humility and grace because there's nothing they did to get there. But it is a grace to have a dream while you're walking. And in a sense, you can then say, this is when the Quran speaks of those who are ever in their salat. They're ever in their salat. They're always in this mode or this way of being. And so to be, that's in a way of, they're in constant communication. And this is why the second person dua is so important, like Subhanaka, glory be to you, Allahumma wa bihamdika, and praise belongs to you. La ilaha illa anta, there is no God but you. And so all of this second person it primes us and prepares us to be in constant conversation. So to be in this constant conversation is to be ever in the prayer. And so you can, but by faith, you can also see things that have meaning. So meaning is that you either see it with a special eye, or you have faith in it, and that's another eye. So the iman, the faith. So if I train myself to take my faith that says that a kind word is a charity, and then I go throughout my day looking for every kind word. And every time I see a kind word, I say, oh, that's a charity. This will be rewarded and blessed in this person's life. And if I do that often enough, at some point, I become a habitual faith person. Then I begin to see. And then sometimes I will only have that, but it will be something that's instant. I see this and I know its meaning. Or I may actually then begin to see it. And Ibn Arabi talks about how different people have that. Some people see something as an image and some people see it as a knowledge. So, but the training is the beautiful training of take all the reports from the Nur Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, take all of the reports about how that world works, and then see that in everyday life, every moment.
Thank you.
So now we have a few more questions.
Oh, I guess 2 more minutes, inshallah. Okay, good.
What you said about dream traveling to God before manifesting, does that mean that we can change a bad dream before it manifests into reality? If so, what needs to be done? A special prayer to God?
Yeah. So Ibn Arabi is saying that the dream that you create here, it goes up and ascends, and it ascends as if it were on what's the bird's feet. Bird's claws, or the bird is holding that dream in their feet. And as they're flying and ascending with that, they're flying and ascending up with it. Now, if you go to the left and you spit to the left, or you move to the left, or you say, may that not be, don't let that be, then the bird drops it. And so it doesn't ascend any farther. So what you want to do is when a bad dream is coming, or a dream that's coming, you say, I don't want that to happen, or that's a warning of that. If I do this, this will happen to me. Then I say, I don't want that to happen. And that I don't want that to happen. Allah save me. Then the bird drops the dream right there. And of course, in Arabic, the bird and the omen are the same word. An omen and a bird is tayr. And so these are how you augur with birds.
Are images protected when in poetry?
Yeah, so that's why Ibn Arabi will never talk about, as a man, he'll never talk about a woman in prose when he's talking about love, but he'll talk about her in poem. And that's in a sense because in the Arab culture, what you say in poetry is protected. So that's a cultural question. So we have to find out what is protected and what is protected speech, as they say.
Would that waking dream be what we understand as a vision?
Yeah, so as you're walking and awake and you're walking along and suddenly you see something without not seeing what else there is, but you see something else and you see this clearly, then that's a vision, that's a waking dream. And so you're dreaming while you're awake. So as this is coming as I see the trees doing this and changing color and something else is happening, that's in a sense in the foreground, and the world out there hasn't changed at all. It's still there. Then I know that this was a dream that I had while my eyes were open.
Okay. Mustafa has put a link in the chat box. I'm not sure what the link is for. Mustafa, can you tell us?
It's just a pick for this. We're selling the books now, the volume 1 and 2, which are available as just a promotion.
Excellent.
Oh, wonderful. Good. Thank you.
Volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So
And
volume 1 is the new edition. Yeah.
One last question, at least so far. Sometimes the earning of a bad dream is very powerful, is very powerful and positive. This is why we give our dreams to the sheikh or sheikha to be interpreted.
Yeah, so these are very powerful communications, and so they can't just be shared with anyone because they're very, very powerful, and you want to protect them. So that's, if you have a teacher and you have this and a community that can hold these things, then that's a tremendous grace. Yes.
And there's Enos saying we didn't get the link. Oh, no link, just visit peerpress.com.
Yeah,
right.
Then you'll see the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you. Wonderful. Good. Well,
Thank you.
It took an hour and some. It didn't take 3 years, but there you go.
Thank
Okay.
you, Shuaib.
Good to see everyone.